Welcome back to the show, Business Mastery for Startups, Scale-Ups, and Early Stage Businesses with your host, Jerry Gadori. That's me. And this week, we've got Chynna Morgan, the founder of Vidlo and an expert in user-generated content, or UGC. Chynna, tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Chynna Morgan. I'm the founder of Vidlo. So at Vidlo, what we do is we help early stage brands, music artists, any type of company to capture UGC content from your customers. So how can you use this content to really amplify your brand, boost your sales, but also boost your engagement as well?
That's awesome. You know, it's interesting. I live on Amazon. Almost all the shopping I do, being three-quarters hermit, is via
Okay.
Amazon, so I don't have to go out. And I really look at reviews before I make purchases, and not even big purchases. I'm talking like, a bottle of soy sauce. I make
Yeah.
sure the reviews are solid for that. And I think of UGC often as a business version of a review. Is that the right
Yeah.
way to think of it or no?
Yeah, it is. Really, the customers are your biggest advocates, right? We want to know what other people have to say about your brand. I could say my brand's the most powerful and the best tool, right? But if no one's vouching for me and giving me any reviews, what am I really changing the game in that? Is my platform really the best tool? So I think we really need to hear from people. And really, what I read was 79% of people, when they listen to or read reviews, they're more likely to buy from that
Yeah.
brand than if the brand's just saying I'm the best tool you've ever encountered.
It's interesting for a couple of things. Going back to Amazon as an example, I sort by most reviews because I figure at most 1 in 20 is going to leave a review.
Yeah.
So I sort for most, and then I sort for the 3 and 4 reviews. I figure
Okay.
unless there's a huge amount of 1-star reviews, um, there's always going to be haters. But I look for the
Yeah.
middle because I find they tend to give the most info. Um,
Yeah.
and I also look for videos because then I can see like the person, using their whatever and holding it up. And, it just
You know
gives me a
what?
better idea of
Yeah.
how it
You know,
works.
I love that you pointed that out because video is king, especially in this social media area that we live in now. And when you think of reviews, right? When you think of text reviews, anyone could write something. Like I could write about my own company, right? But when you can actually see someone, you can see someone that looks like a regular customer talking about their experience around the brand, it makes you even more inclined to say, "Oh, let me check this out." Because it seems like they have some good customers on their side. So it gives that even more of like a proof of concept of, okay, this is a great company and I need to buy from them.
Exactly right. So like, I look for the verified purchase on Amazon, and in the video, when you see them hold it, I guess it's possible it's a fake, but it's so improbable. It
Yeah.
just don't so
Yeah.
tough. And you said it a couple of times, so you can say about your company that's great. Of course, every founder does. If you
Yeah.
didn't, oh my gosh, that's the biggest reverse endorsement ever. But
Yeah.
but when it's somebody else who's used the product or service, that's such a big deal.
And you know what? I don't think enough brands realize the power that has, right? Because I know, like, even when I get reviews, I get so excited because it's like, okay, this is actually someone vouching for me that I can share and other people can see. And I don't think that brands, especially smaller brands, are really connecting the power that that brings to their social media marketing, to their sales, to their website. I mean, there's so many ways you can leverage this type of content, testimonials.
100%. It's interesting. Every once in a while, somebody will still send me a picture of my book on their desk, and I'll post it on LinkedIn. And there's always a little blip in sales when I do that.
Oh yes,
It's
yeah,
every
yeah,
single time. Every single
yeah.
time I get a couple more sales.
I'm sure because now people can know that people are vouching for what you wrote, right? So it's like, okay, wow, this someone else that looks like me, right? It seems like a regular person like me is saying that I need to read this book. Oh, let me check it out. I mean, it's really that simple, and I think we make it more complex than what it is. But it's really just getting people that already love your product to say how much they love your product in a video form.
So you said something interesting, and I'm going to use a '90s reference, so I apologize in advance to many on this call. But
Okay.
but, but you said someone who looks like me. I used to in the '90s when cable TV was still the main thing. There was a lot of infomercials. And
Yeah.
I don't care who had the product or service. If it was fitness related, there was always a before and an after. And like 50 different people, guys, girls, different ages, different ethnicities, clearly looking at like the background of the videos that they shot, different
Mhm.
socioeconomic levels, to ensure that somewhere in that somebody could find a before that looked like them, that got the result they were looking for with an after. And
Yeah.
it's what made them sell. I know what was the name of the workout I used to love? Insanity. The Insanity
Okay.
workout in
The
the 90s
workout, right?
with
Is that the
Sean T.
workout?
That dude was the
Okay.
best. Yeah.
Okay.
Psychopath, but he was the best. But if
Okay.
you watch like the Insanity workout infomercial, it was all before pictures and then afters where they lost like 30 to 90 pounds and in crazy workouts. But it was all different people because when you can see yourself in it, you see
Yeah.
it's not just this rich person or this 20-year-old. You see somebody
Yeah.
that looks like, in your case, a 20-year-old. In my case, less so. You just so much more. I guess to use a marketing term, it's a social proof thing.
It's a social, and also it's kind of like they did it. It's relatable, right? I
Yeah,
think this type of content is authentic and relatable. So it's like they did it. Oh, I know I can. It gives you like
yeah,
that boost of confidence. And also when I'm referring to like how testimonials are people that look like you, I'm also going kind of versus like influencer marketing, right?
right.
When
Good
you
call.
see influencers creating content around the brand, there's a little disconnect, right? Because they don't really seem like they're the target audience, right? They don't really look like your everyday person if they're models, right? So you don't look at them and be like that's attainable. But if your regular customers are creating content and they're not getting paid to really vouch for your brand, that's when the relatability comes in, and that's what really makes this type of content the most powerful content, I think, for content marketing.
It's really interesting when you say that because one of the things we considered. So after the book did well, we launched the Destination Employer Academy, and it's
Okay.
targeted towards startup users. And we considered influencer marketing. But when I was talking to my team, they said the exact same thing you just did. I don't
Mhm.
know that your average startup founder is going to look at this, celebrity, for lack of a better word, in our community and say, well, I can see if it worked for them or worked for me, because they've already exited it. They've already done all of these things. And to
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
rookie founder, that's not yet attainable for them.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you said that because it's like if I'm looking to buy your book, right? I want to know that there's someone that's going through my journey right now,
Yes,
right? So it's like they're at the same place, they're trying to build, they're trying to grow. Okay, so this book has helped them grow. Okay, now I know I have to buy the book. Whereas, yeah, it's super cool as someone that's already been acquired for $50 million has, read your book and is doing amazing things, but there's still a disconnect because I need something attainable now. Like how do they get there? Like where they, like in what space do they actually get to be becoming $20 million acquisition, right? So like when I see someone that's like a small business, it's like, okay, I know they're right where I'm at. Okay, that's attainable. Let me buy the book. I know I was going
no,
else
no,
there,
no, totally cool. And honestly, I think over the last year or so, influencers have kind of taken a knock in credibility on
I
top
think
of
so.
that.
Yeah.
Everything you said, I agree with. But on top of that, I look and so many of the big influencers are with the NFT scams, with Logan Paul, with
Yeah.
all these different folks. There's that luster isn't what it was during COVID.
Yeah, and also I think we wanted them to be more accountable. So brands had to start saying, "Hey, this is a sponsored post," right? So if you're telling your audience it's a sponsored post, that also loses the authenticity of it because it's like they're not really real customers of you. They're just getting paid for it. So I think that's kind of where the downfall of that type of marketing went down as well.
Definitely. And again, you've said it a couple times. I couldn't agree more that relatability and that authenticity are key. And
Yeah.
I think when influencers first started, social media influencers at least, we looked at them as kind of like us, maybe a little prettier, maybe a little richer, but still in the zone. You know what I mean?
Mm,
But then
okay.
we saw behind the scenes, and that little bit richer in many instances was a lot of bit richer, or
Yeah, yeah.
maybe a total lie, like maybe the inverse. Maybe this person's working their basement, and there's nothing there. But
Yeah.
I just think a lot of that trust and authenticity went out the window. And when,
Yeah.
when it's just a regular person, and that's the beauty of it, like you and I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. So
Mhm.
if I, as a founder, utilize Vidlo as a product, and I say, hey, X service that I loved was wonderful and amazing, they can look at me on LinkedIn and see I'm a real person, see I'm
Mhm.
active there. It's not
Mhm.
like it was, before that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think that's the power is how do we put it in the hands of your real customers? That's really what it's about, you know? It's
Mhm.
people are already gonna vouch. They want to talk about you anyway, especially if they really love your product. So I think it's about just creating ways that you can capture that content seamlessly where you can also amplify it on your X, on Twitter, I mean on X, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, very easily, you know?
Our mutual friend made me open a Twitter account, and I just can't get into it.
No. You know what I did was I just tried to automate my post just so I could get like a rhythm. It's not my go-to at all. I'm sure it's I barely post there, but I try to automate it so I can have some type of action there, but it's a struggle over here as well.
Yeah, I get LinkedIn because I've been on it since before Microsoft even bought it. So I
Okay.
get the flow of it, and creating content there is easy. X kills me. I don't know what I'm
You
not
know what?
hating on it.
I would think it would be super easy for you because you love conversation.
Yeah,
Right?
I
And it's
guess.
really just like these little conversation bites that you can have with everyone that's on the even more so than LinkedIn, I would think, you
I
know?
hear the words you are saying.
Okay.
I just can't. Maybe it's just habit. I don't know.
Okay.
But Trent, he was the first person to follow me.
Okay.
He's
Me too.
probably
I think
within
so.
10 of the
I
last.
follow you too.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just I just can't get into that flow.
You
So
can't get
and that's
into it.
another part. So UGC content. I mean, you obviously do video, vidlo,
Yeah.
clearly, but it also means things like testimonials. And when I think back to old school testimonials, I know that they're not always easy to get. You know, to get people to not even a willingness, but just to take the time. People are so busy.
Yeah.
What do you recommend to founders and early stage leaders to help them get that feedback?
Yeah, so I think it comes down to automation, right? You have to meet people where they're at, right? So like when you're wanting to capture testimonials, when are your is your audience having the aha moment where they'll take 2 seconds out their day to be like, oh my God, this is the best platform ever. You're able to capture that and share it, right? So it's finding these little moments that you can automate, send them a request that you can automatically get it and then share it from there. And I think that's where a lot of brands are missing. They make the process so hard, and that's kind of like what I was trying to fix as when I was building Bitlo was how do we make it so that you can ask for video testimonials really easy, right? They can record it in less than 15 seconds. It's already branded. It comes to you automatically. So we're taking out the steps of number one, sending them individual emails, right? Number two, having them record on their own phone, having to edit it, then send it over to you by email. Then you have to edit it and put your branding on it. I mean, it's just way too much. So we were like, okay, what if we could just send them a link? They can record it. They're done. They don't have to do anything else.
Let me interrupt. I apologize to interrupt, but let's. I
Yeah.
think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. I know what
Okay.
vidlo is because you and I have spoken before. Can you tell
Okay.
people a little bit more about exactly what vidlo is, so that for
Yeah.
context of what you're saying now?
Oh, yeah, of course. So with Vidla, what we do is we help brands capture video testimonials and content from your customers. So it's a SaaS platform. You create a campaign, it generates a QR code or a link. So you send that to your audience, you send that to your customers. You can set up QR codes in your store, inviting your customers to create video content and testimonials around their experience, right? Once they create it, it goes to you automatically, edited, branded. So there's nothing for you to do but to share it on your platforms. So we pretty much just wanted to simplify how we can capture video content and how you can use it to boost your sales super easily and seamlessly.
That's
So
awesome.
that's what BitLove says. So what I was where I was going with was there's so many ways, whether you're using text testimonials, video, audio testimonials, it's finding a tool, a platform that allows you to capture it super easily, right? Where you can automate how you get it from your customers.
Interesting. You know,
Yeah.
I'll say nothing ever works 100% of the time, but what worked
Yeah.
for me, especially when I was just a bag carrying regular salesperson, I relied on testimonials heavily even then, and I would tell my clients, I'd say, hey, I work on testimonials. Here are several of mine. I would like to add yours to them. I haven't earned that yet, so I'm not going to ask now. But so that we understand, when I've succeeded in the way that I know that I will, I'm going to ask. Is that okay with you? And
Hmm.
they would kind of pre-commit there.
Okay.
And I found that I got far more results that way than by not kind of preceding that thought in their head.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So doing the pre-seed of asking like, hey, this is gonna come, right? And then you send out another email asking for it because you know they had the aha moment of I love this. And that's the biggest thing right there is that a lot of times people just want to capture testimonials, but have you done enough to actually receive the
Yes,
testimonial?
huge.
Right? It's and then also when you're asking for the testimonial, in what way are you asking as well? Like what moment in the journey are you asking? Are you asking 6 months later when they kind of forgot about it? Are you asking as soon as they opened it and they're happy about their purchase? So those little moments are really important in how much testimonials you can capture, and how you can connect with your audience from doing it, you know?
100%. And I'll tell you, I think it would be powerful even early on to use it as a way to make it clear to your then prospect or early stage client that you're looking for feedback by saying something like, I want to earn your testimonial. Let me
Yeah.
ask you, China, the prospect, what will I need to have done for that to happen?
Ooh,
Give them the trigger that lets them know it's coming.
yeah. Oh, I love that you said that. Because I think when it comes to reviews and testimonials, I think we only think about it one way, right? When we're capturing it. And there's so many ways you can capture it and utilize it. It doesn't always have to be to showcase it on your website. It could be for your own feedback, right?
Yeah,
So it could be like, hey, let me know what are the pain points in our platform. What is the pain points in my agency? They can do those, right? They can send you those in, and then you can use that as for your own data to kind of just strategize and kind of clear your pain points, that they see. So it doesn't always have to be to showcase your platform. It could be for your own learning as well. It could be for auditioning clients. Hey, let us know, what do you want from your agency, right? So it could be like an intake. Like there's so many ways to utilize video content, video testimonials without just the one way we think, and that's just like reviews, you know?
100%. If we take the UGC conversation, just put it on hold for 1 second,
Yeah.
as founders of businesses, that mentality is critical for success.
Yeah.
Because what tends to happen a lot with founders, especially inside their own teams, is
Hmm.
is this wall around them because their team often has a tendency to tell them what they think that they want to hear.
Yeah.
And so that filter that happens can be really detrimental to the growth of the startup. So if that
Yeah.
founder is interacting with clients and saying, look, I value your feedback, positive or negative, heck, maybe even more if it's negative, that
Yeah.
that can be huge because it can help them in their decision making with their team. And I see that very often where founders don't do that.
Oh my, I love that you said that because like even for me, I have a small team and it's so easy for them just to go along with like what we're doing, right? And so from the beginning, I had to say, you guys, I need you guys to be super honest with whatever we're doing because we can't grow. I can't grow if you're not, you know? And I expect the same thing from our customers. It's like, I need you to let me know if something's not working because I can't fix it if you won't let me know. So it has to be that open communication on both sides to really grow a small business in a startup, you know?
100%. And stick with this theme for just a minute. That's one of the hardest things as founders, though. We have a tendency to look at as our startup almost like it's one of our babies.
Yeah.
So
You're too
when that
close.
team member gives when that team member gives us that feedback of your baby's ugly,
Yeah.
you can't react because if you react to that, they're never going to do that again. They're never going to feel secure enough to give you that again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's hard sometimes. Sometimes you're like, you know,
Yeah. You know what? You have to disconnect yourself. That's what I had
yes,
to do. It's like they're not talking about you as a person, right? There's people, there's like Microsoft, Facebook, they all have tools that have got feedback on, right? That wasn't the nicest feedback, but they kept it going. So it's not personal. You're not the tool. The tool is the tool, right? You're creating the tool, but I think that there has to be some separation of it so you won't take it personally and you're able to receive that feedback. Because if you don't, you feel like they're attacking you because you're building it, you know, and
yeah.
then you don't want to, you want to close your ears. Like, no, 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 it's perfect. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And
Exactly.
it's
My
like,
baby's beautiful. My baby's
my baby's
beautiful. My baby's
beautiful.
beautiful.
And it's
Yeah.
like it might not be, you know, and that's beautiful. That means you just have to keep on growing and learning as you go. You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
And almost no startup is perfect from the beginning. So it's those
Yeah,
iterations that make what you are.
yeah,
How many crazy famous startups now started off as something entirely different than what the company does now?
yeah. The
It's
pivot,
absolutely, yeah.
right? it's the pivots that really, I think it's really the beauty of having a startup. And I think that's what you sign up when you create a startup anyway. It's the ups and downs and the pivots of not knowing where this is going to go, where's it going to take, but we're along for the ride. That's pretty much what we're, as small business owners, what we're doing. And I think we have to embrace that in totality. And embracing that is also receiving feedback that we don't want to hear, but we have to hear to change, you know?
Exactly. Now, how long has Vidlo been going?
So Billow's been going for 2 years. So it actually started
Wow.
in the pandemic. I had a previous company. We were a music kiosk that did events and activations. The pandemic happened. Everything was canceled. It was done. So I was like, okay, what can I do so I can still help brands capture video content that they need during the pandemic or if we're back outside. So that's kind of how Bitlo was born. It was born from the pandemic. It was a pivot. I embraced the pivot.
Yeah. So, no, that's
I embraced
awesome.
the
I
pivot.
think that's huge. In the same vein, people celebrate the companies that successfully pivot. Nobody talks about the ones that didn't because they're not here anymore. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's a big part of the lesson. It's
yeah,
interesting. We use the term in the startup world, as you know, MVP, and
yeah.
it's pretty well known. People get it, and yet, how many times do you talk to a founder who's getting ready to release a product or service, or an author that has an idea for a book, or a musician that's writing a song, and they're holding it so close and putting so much work into it with no feedback, and then by the time
Oh
they
my God.
release it, nobody likes it, but it
Oh
was
my
something
God.
that could have been fixed, so
Six
much
months
earlier.
ago, a year
Yeah,
ago. And you know what? I think that is the biggest rookie mistake. And guys, I get it. I understand, especially when it's your first company. You don't want to tell no one your idea because you think someone's going to steal it, and then you just want to
that's my
build it.
favorite. Yep.
That's the memory. You think someone's going to steal it, or you think that because you've thought of it, it's the most brilliant thing, and everyone's just going to love it. And then as you start building more companies, you realize, okay, I was doing this all wrong, and this is completely upside down, you know. But I always know that's one sign of someone that doesn't know what they're doing when it comes
Yes.
to really creating a product that was going to make revenue. Because the first thing you need to do before you even build a company, right, is to figure out who your ICP is and then interview them. What are they looking for? Are they even looking for a tool that you're building? It might not even be something that people want. And so then you're wasting money and building something that is probably not going to work, you know? So
Yeah,
if I
it's a
can help
solution.
anyone at that stage, like, don't do it. Stop. Do your research first. That would make me so happy.
Yeah, it's a solution out there looking for a problem to solve. It's
Yeah.
people, because I work in the startup community, people often ask me, or they come to me excited about an idea. And I always tell them the same thing. I'm like, don't do it. And then I shut up and I watch them. And if they don't look like they want to punch me in the face, then I was right. Because if that little bit of rejection is going to stop a
Hmm.
founder, they've got no
Yeah.
shot. But
Yeah.
if they, their eyes light up and they have 100 reasons why they should, then maybe you are one of the 7% that are going to
Mm.
make it.
Yeah. 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 Well, that's a good point that you mentioned in terms of knowing who's ready and who's not. Because I think as founders, or everyone wants to be a founder. I think it's like this cool thing now, especially with Silicon Valley, and I think people want to be a founder without actually doing the work of being a founder. So there's a lot of founders, but there's not a lot of founders,
Yes.
that are actually working. And there's two separate things,
Yeah. Well, you hit on a couple important things. I think number one, it's so weird because business in our country, in the media, is a bad guy, but
Yeah.
startups are not.
Um,
Startups, everybody loves a startup founder.
Innovative, innovation,
Exactly.
cool
They're
kids.
creating jobs. They're doing all these things, and that's true.
Yeah.
Startups, early stage businesses, small business are the number one driver of the economy, number one source of innovation, number one source of jobs in this country. Those are all great things. But when you
Yeah.
look at business as a whole, always scumbags. Like, I challenge you to find a
Mm.
positively portrayed business person in a movie, TV show, story, anything. I double dog dare you.
I
But
know.
huh?
No, now I have
Yeah,
to think about it. I don't think I've
yeah.
ever thought about
I can't think of
that.
it. My favorite business show is probably House of Lies with Don Cheadle, and
Okay.
he plays a psychopath. He's a crazy
Okay.
person in that.
Okay.
What was the one that ended recently? Billions, with
Oh,
Damian Lewis. Yeah, so I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
his name. But all of them scumbags. Um,
Okay.
Silicon Valley, funny, all scumbags.
Mm-hmm. Give us
Succession,
a bad
scumbag
name.
squared.
Are they giving us a bad name?
Yeah, well, I just think we can talk about it another time. But the point in mentioning it, founders are almost fetishized. So there's a strong drive to become a founder. But the reality is, and you touched on it a minute ago, well, I mentioned 93% of startups fail, only 7% make it. But you mentioned earlier, are they ready? And the answer is usually no. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need deep knowledge in any area but your primary one as a founder, but you need at
Mm-hmm.
least basic broad knowledge across everything, because in the beginning, it's going to be all you or mostly you. So you have to
Yeah.
understand the basics of accounting and finance, the basics of marketing, the basics of sales, the basics of whatever. And then the one thing that if it's a service, you're a 10 out of 10 rock star in, or if it's a
Mhm.
product, something that you've found your ICP and is a legit problem that needs to be solved.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
without those other basics, you're going to be in a tough spot.
Or you know what? Like I said, the things you don't know how to do, make sure you have someone on your team that knows how to do that
Yes,
very well. Because
100%.
we don't know how to do everything, and I knew I had to deal with that when I first started. It's like you want it to be everything for the company, and there's just some things I'm better at than other
Of course.
things. So who can I bring in to kind of help me in the areas that I'm not confident or as good in?
100%. Yeah. And I completely agree. There's a great book called Who Not How. And,
Who
and
not
and
how?
they advocate for, if you're writing down books, you better be writing down mine. No, I'm just joking. Uh,
Listen, I already have yours. I already
uh,
have yours written down.
Good, awesome. So it postulates just what you said. We all have things that we're great at, that we're passionate at, that we're not really good at, or that we're actively bad at. So rather than struggling to learn everything, find the who's that your weakness is their strength. That your
Yeah.
mediocre, I tolerate it because I have to, is their passion.
Yeah.
But I still push back and say, in the beginning, you
You have
probably
to do
don't
it
have any
yourself.
team. So,
Yeah.
again, like, my weakness easily is accounting. It's not
Okay.
even close. That's by a lot. I know enough to make my CPA wish he never agreed to work with me. That's the
Okay.
level of accounting skill that I have. So it was one of the first things I offloaded as I started to generate revenue and make money, because I know I'm bad at it. But in the beginning, number one, I didn't have anybody, so I had to figure out QuickBooks and set up all that stuff. But
Yeah.
number two, by at least learning enough about it, or a little bit about it, I knew when I reached out what to ask to make sure that they legitimately have that
Yeah.
skill.
I love that perspective because I do think you need to have a touch of knowing about everything. That way, number one, you're not gonna have a big team in the beginning. You're gonna be by yourself, and there's things you just have to do to get things moving. And number two, when you're hiring and when you're outsourcing, you still need to have some type of knowledge about what you're talking about in order to let whoever knows what to do to let them know what to do. So I'm not saying you have to go in. You should never go in blind. I think
Yes.
as founders, we have to educate ourselves about everything that's surrounding our company, centering our company. But just as you start making more money, like you said, you can, offset a couple things that
Yeah.
you don't want to waste your time doing.
I think part of the evolution of any successful startup is that founder gets to spend more and more of their time on the things they do better than anybody else. They
Yeah.
offload as many of those other tertiary things as possible so that they can be focused on whatever it is that nobody else can do like they do.
Yeah. 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 And that's where the true power comes in. It's like, okay,
Yes.
now I'm in my superpower. I have enough revenue to offset what I don't need to do. And now I can really focus on what's going to really build your company and really build, your platform or your tool.
When I was consulting into technology services in my old company, that's one of the first things I work with smaller founders to get to, is to get to a place where they can act like an internal consultant to their company, where they can focus
Mm.
either where there's the biggest opportunity or the biggest problem. You go into work tomorrow and your database imploded. That probably requires your immediate and undivided attention.
Yeah.
So you can
Yeah.
do that because you've built up enough of a team that you're free to work in that way. And
Yeah.
it's such a game changer for entrepreneurs. And what many of them find, because one of the difficult things as your startup grows, if you don't do it the right way, is that you find yourself spending more and more time on the things that you don't enjoy. Like,
Yeah.
most technology founders found companies because they want to build cool things. They don't found
Mm-hmm.
companies because they want to figure out
Want to
their
do
spreadsheet.
sales.
Yeah, or sell or handle the HR piece of their business. That's not usually what drives them. So
Yeah.
so um so yeah, so building out those teams is huge for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I completely agree. And I could attest to, to that.
Yeah. So, so what's Vidlo's future? I'm interested here. So right now you're working with, and again, correct me if I'm misunderstanding, smaller businesses and musicians. Is that the always plan, or are you looking?
Yeah. So pretty much we work with every size of type of brands, not
Okay.
even small, medium-sized, large brands. And then we also work with music artists for their tours or for their album release. Or so it's with the powerful thing or the cool thing about what we do is that it's so it's the it's limitless of type of use cases that we can capture, because yeah, I think one thing I like to focus on is smaller businesses because I feel like they really need the testimonials to amplify their
Mhm.
sales. Whereas if you're a big size business, you don't have to rely on it as much as someone that's doing less than $1 million a year, right? So I like to focus just on that niche just because I feel like they need it the most and I get to see how it can benefit them more than a larger size brand. But when it comes to like music artists, they don't use the testimonial side. We also have music in the platform. So they upload their music in our dashboard and they create music moments for their fans during tours, parties, or like um, meet and greets that they might do. So there's so many use cases that brands can use with our platform.
That's awesome. When you were talking about musicians, though, I think of that. So, did I understand right? Like the musician makes a copy of maybe them playing their song or whatever, and then they share that. Is that what you meant?
No. So what they'll do is the artist will create their campaign in our platform, right? And when they create the campaign, they're giving their fans a prompt. Show us how excited you are for our tour.
Oh,
Or
I've
maybe
got you.
it's like throughout the tour, show us your best moves, showcasing our new song, Let's Get It, or whatever, right? They'll set up like a QR code or even like an email automation. They'll send it to the fans. The fans will tap it, see the prompt of what the artist is asking them to do. They can record it right on their phone and then it syncs automatically to the artist. So now, right, the artist can reshare their biggest fans' videos in like a recap, which number one just makes the fans even more excited and
Yeah, for
emotionally
sure.
to the artist. It allows them to amplify the artist's music on social, TikTok, Instagram. And it's just really fun as well. I think we forget about just how much fun it is to create content.
Absolutely, especially with something as personal and emotional as music. It almost projects you into the experience if you
Yeah.
do what you just described.
Yeah. Because the music takes you there,
Yeah.
right? And especially if it's your favorite artist, you're already jamming to it already. So my key here was like, how can we make sure that like the content is branded with the artist so everyone now knows what that song is, right? Now everyone knows when you go to the tour, you can have this fun video moment that you can get excited about because like you're going to the VIP lounge or
Yeah.
however you can do to engage.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Vidlo sounds incredible. Let me ask you this, China. For folks
Yeah.
that want to learn more about Vidlo or connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So I'm always on LinkedIn as he knows I'm there all the time. You can connect me there, China Morgan. Also our website is bitlo.video, BIDLO.video. And then email. Please email me. I love connecting with new brands, smaller brands, all type of brands, but not just to tell you about our platform, but like brainstorm what type of marketing strategy can you use to really engage and showcase the cool things you're building or your cool products.
That is
Yeah.
awesome. I'll tell you, I had a great time having you on the show, so thank you very much. I'd
Oh,
love to have you on again where maybe we could talk about marketing campaigns in specific and how Vidlo and UGC can be a part of that.
oh, I would love that because I think there's so many ways that people don't even think about that are easy that they can implement super easily to whatever what they're doing now. So I would love to come back on board
That
and
would
be
be
on the show.
awesome. Well, let's do this. Let's plan on doing that when you have free time. You're super busy, plus you're on the wrong coast, which I try to forgive you for. Uh,
The West Coast is the
oh, I was
best
no, that is a filthy lie. Offer withdrawn. Offer withdrawn. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm just re-spreading some '90s East versus West hate. That's all I'm doing.
Oh gosh, we don't need to go back there. We don't have to go back there. We need to come to a new time.
That feels like a good place to wrap up since we've rekindled hatred between the coasts. So,
It's all love. Look, it's all love, people. It's
yes,
all love here.
So thanks very much for being on the show, Chynna. For the audience, as always, Chynna's contact info that she shared will be in the show notes. So whether that's on YouTube or Apple or Spotify or wherever you catch it. And thanks for being here. As always, again, next week, we'll talk again.
Yes.
Not you, though, Westy.
Oh, no. He's kicking me out, guys. I can't chat with you guys. No, but thank you so much for having me on the show. I've loved our conversation and I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Bye.